Hey guys, it's Shane, and today I am going to be showing you how to make Hardtechno like Nico Moreno. As usual, you get the full project files, samples, MIDI, presets, everything from this video is available right at the top of the description for just $5 on my Bandcamp, and if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because it's already available. And yeah, let's dive in. This will be heard in the intro. We're at 138 BPM, and the first sound that we have here is the lead, which sounds like this. So you can see it's actually a pretty simple MIDI here. It's just playing this A down to D sharp. So basically what we're getting here is we just have this thing where, you know, the fifth of D sharp would be A sharp. And then we're just playing one note down from the fifth to get this sort of like uneasy, dark sounding thing. Another thing that you'll notice is that this is what is called a polyrhythm. So if you notice, you can see these two notes never hit on exactly the same count every time. Like it hits there, and then it hits there, and then it hits there. And so this is a polyrhythm where essentially we have this playing one rhythm, but then everything else is really straight, right? Like everything else is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're getting something very interesting when you get the rhythm of this playing off of the really straight rhythm of everything else. But the sound on this one is made using two layers. So the first layer is an analog and it sounds like this. So this is more of that like buzzy, dark sort of lead. What this is, it's two saw waves, detuned quite a bit. Also got some white noise, and then we just have the amp envelope set like that. And then we just have a bunch of unison. It's a simple sound. But yeah, it's just like that standard kind of hard, ravey lead that you hear. And then the second layer sounds like this. So this is more of a straightforward sort of lead. You know, this is just one saw wave in here. I've got it going into the filter, even though the filter isn't doing anything. The amp envelope set like that, and then we have vibrato. So it's meant to kind of balance it out, because with this one, it's very big and chorusy. But it doesn't have that fat low mid-range like this second layer does. So when you put them together, there you go. It just sounds like one really, really big saw wave lead. And then after that, on both of these at the same time, we have a bit of echo. You can see I've just got this on quarter notes. Then we have some reverb. So both of these are just adding space, kind of filling the sound out a bit. Then we have this drum bus. Here's without this. And then with it, so you can hear how much this does for like fattening the sound up and making it hit really hard. We just got the drive up, crunch up, it's on the medium setting, and then I turned up the transients as well, because really what this is doing, all a transient shaper is a form of compression. Where it's just kind of bringing out the transient a little bit more. So even though you can't necessarily hear like a transient with this the way you can with like a kick or something like that, it's just kind of, again, like compressing the sound a little bit, bringing out the reverb and echo, and just making it a bit bigger. And the final thing on here is just this EQ8, which is just boosting the highs. Kind of brings out that buzziness, brings out that white noise. And yeah, that's it for the lead. After that, we have the kick, which sounds like this. So this is a pretty standard rumble kick. What's happening is we're starting with this sample. So just like a really fat, hard-hitting, sort of 909-esque kick. And then I've just got to go into some effects. So the first thing here is the saturator. Here's without this. And then with it, it's really subtle, but it just gives it that little bit more fullness, you know, that you can't quite get without that. And then I have that going into this audio effect rack here, which is doing the rumble. You can see we have a dry chain for the punch. And then we have the rumble. So the way the rumble's being made is I've got a reverb going into a low pass filter and then going into an amp. So usually the way we would do this would be like this. But you can hear when we do it this way, you get a little bit more of a crunchy rumble. It's really subtle, but it's just kind of like a little bit more of an interesting way of doing it. Because basically all that's happening is we're coming out of the reverb with already a pretty bassy sound because of this kick coming into it, and then we're just low passing that so we get just the lows. And then the amp just distorts that and brings it out a bit more. And also converts it to mono. Because, yeah, whenever you're making a rumble, even if you don't use this distortion to make the rumble, if you use another distortion, you definitely need to always make sure it's in mono. You never want to have a stereo rumble kick. It's just not going to sound good. Like, listen to this mix if we put the kick in stereo. It just sounds weird compared to having it mono. So yeah, that's a big thing. Definitely make sure your rumble kicks are mono if you're using reverb or some kind of effect that has like a stereo thing to it to create the rumble. Yeah, then we just have a compressor which is sidechaining this to that dry kick. It's sidechaining it to this so that it doesn't get in the way. And then we just have an EQ to cut a little bit of space for the kick and boost a little bit of lows. And yeah, that's really it for the rumble. And then the only thing after that is just a bit of drum bus, which really helps to glue the rumble and the kick together. I've said this in a lot of my videos before, but yeah, just using this drum bus or any kind of saturation after your rumble is essential because you want your kick, like the punch of the kick and the rumble, to sound like one. And if you don't do this, it's going to sound kind of like two different layers. But when you do this, it glues them together in such a way where it really just sounds like one fat, powerful kick. And yeah, that's it for the kick. After that, we have this atmospheric noise, which sounds like this. So this one's really simple. It's not even got any effects on it. This is just something I noticed, like, with this style of techno, it's a little bit more textured and a little bit more about, like, the quality of the sound in terms of just, you know, how it sounds, like having little atmospheric things like this in the background and all that. So this is just adding that. You know, it just gives you that kind of like in the background, so when you hear this track, it's already kind of putting it into context. And it's not like, you know, it's just adding that background texture pretty much. Oh yeah, that's it for the atmospheric noise. After that, we have these rolls, which sound like this. So these are something that I heard in a lot of these tracks. Basically, what's happening here is we have these two samples. This one. And this one. Basically, just two pretty small little percussive sounds. I brought them into a drum rack here. And then you can see we're just going chicka 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 chicka. Like, the first two velocities are a little quieter, second two velocities are a little louder, and then it just keeps cycling like that. And then what's happening is it's going through a few effects. So, the first thing is the auto filter. Just without that. And then with it, so you can hear, this just kind of, you know, focuses it in one range so that you're really just getting that, like, without all the extra stuff in the background. And this really helps too because this is really only meant to fit in one very specific place in the mix. It's loud in the mix, but it's not meant to take up too much space. So this is just kind of like, you know, making it so it fits into that narrow range. And that's it. Then after that we have an echo. This is just doing dotted eighth notes on the ping pong settings. So this is just creating that like constant delayed rhythm you hear. Because we're getting these two going constantly, but then this is playing back delays from like different times here with the dotted eighth note setting. So it kind of just adds more detail to the sound. And then the final thing on here is just this drum bus. Here's without it. And then with it. So it just makes these hit a little bit more. You know, glues them together, brings out the echo. It makes this a bit more powerful because again, this is going to be pretty loud in the mix. And so the drum bus really helps with that. And yeah, and then the next thing that we have here is this first hi-hat, which sounds like this. So what's happening here is we have two layers. We have this one. And then we have this one, which is made using operator. And these are just in an instrument rack. But basically, the idea behind this operator layer is it's just adding that like brightness on top. Because if I turn it off, this first hi-hat is a little bit too much in the mid-range. Like, it has a lot of fullness to it, which is good. That's why I kept it. But you still want those bright highs. So this is just adding that back in. And all this is just some white noise with a really short envelope. There you go. And then I have it going into a high-pass filter so that we're just soloing the highs, essentially. And then you put that on top. Again, it's subtle. Here's without it. And then with it, But yeah, it's just giving that nice little high boost that you need. And then after that, I just have a bit of saturation to glue these together and make this hi-hat a bit punchier and hit a bit more. And then finally, we have an EQ8, which is just boosting the highs a little. Here's about it. So just bringing that bright high end out even more. And yeah, that's it for the first hi-hat. And then the last layer we have here is the second hi-hat, which sounds like this. So this is your standard sort of like big 909 Hardtechno hi-hat. What's happening here is we have this sample. And then I'm just got it going through a high-pass filter inside of the simpler here to make it a bit... I'll show you. You can see like... If we don't cut that out, you get that like... But then when we do, it's super clean. And I just had that going through a bit of reverb. Typically in this style of techno, you would put this hi-hat through like a lot of reverb to make it a bit more atmospheric. Then I have some saturation to fatten it up. And then finally we just have an EQ on there to boost the highs at the end. Here's about that. And then with it, so you can hear what that does. It's just kind of because there's that little range there that kind of cuts off, as you can see. And so we're just boosting that. And yeah, so that's everything I had to show you, and that is going to be it for this video, guys. So, as always, I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get the full project file and samples and MIDI and presets. Everything from this video is available right at the top of the description, and if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there, because it's already available. Thank you so much, guys, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.